As he walked down the stairs, I asked him, "What is this?" And he looked at me, and I still remember the look on his face, and he said, "I am a sexual addict." Well, the bottom fell out of my world. What do you do with that? What do you do with a husband who admits to being a sexual addict, but doesn't want anything to do with you? That makes it really my fault, doesn't it? So I kind of spiraled and I decided that I didn't know what I was going to do, but I wasn't staying in that marriage. I had to see either some big changes or I was out of there. I was going to go and make a new life for myself. I was going to do whatever it took to have a happy end of my life. Hey there. It's been a while since you heard that Berkey intro, hasn't it? About a year, in fact. 1 year ago today, I was almost at the end of season 1 of Teri's Doing It. Teri's Doing It was my podcast. It is my podcast devoted to encouraging you to get out there and make the most of your one and only life. I had some super guests last season, and you were very kind, but I was overwhelmed after 14 episodes, and I needed a break. Then, out of nowhere, one day the proverbial shit hit the fan. I knew my marriage wasn't great, but I had no idea how dysfunctional it really was. We were really pretty good roommates for the most part, although there was very little affection, no emotional or sexual intimacy. Um, I felt pretty alone, actually. I just felt like the Lone Ranger. I didn't know what was wrong with me. Why didn't my husband need me or want me in the way that I needed to be wanted? And so I I didn't share it with anybody because I thought I was the only one. I thought I was just out there by myself. And it was embarrassing, frankly, because every woman wants to feel like she is the object of desire and that her husband just couldn't get along without her. Well, that didn't seem to be the case to me. And I filled myself with thoughts of going and doing and being as a separate entity because our marriage was really so crappy. Well, so that one day, Discovery Day, I was using Richard's phone and he was upstairs, dreading the fact that I was using his phone because I checked his Facebook to see what my friends were doing. And what I discovered was a lot of softcore pornography on his feed. I had seen that before and I had confronted him, and he got pretty angry with me. He said, "I didn't do that. Somebody else must have done it. I don't know how it got there." And I knew about algorithms and I doubted what he said, but I backed off. Well, this particular day, I did not. As he walked down the stairs, I asked him, "What is this?" And he looked at me, and I still remember the look on his face, and he said, "I am a sexual addict." Well, the bottom fell out of my world. What do you do with that? What do you do with a husband who admits to being a sexual addict, but doesn't want anything to do with you? That makes it really my fault, doesn't it? So I kind of spiraled and I decided that I didn't know what I was going to do, but I wasn't staying in that marriage. I had to see either some big changes or I was out of there. I was going to go and make a new life for myself. I was going to do whatever it took to have a happy end of my life because that's what I talk to you about all the time is about making the last years of your life, making actually all the years of your life the best years of your life because you do things that you will regret not having done. Well, so a long story short, we got counseling. That was a process. And he finally dug in and did the work. And he made the changes. And now he's in recovery where he'll be, I hope, for the rest of his life and our lives. In the process, we learned a lot of things that I never dreamed we'd have to learn. But they're things that have made our lives so much better that I really want to pass them on in case they can help someone else. Because I got involved in a small group and I learned there are a lot of people like me, male and female, who think they are the problem, who are experiencing men who cheat, men who use pornography, men who, and women who reject them and gaslight them and choose porn over them because they're avoiding a relationship. They're avoiding intimacy. They're avoiding their past uh, memories and feelings. Well, I frequently tell people I'm not a doctor, a lawyer, a pastor, a therapist. I am the metaphorical equivalent of one beggar telling others where she found bread, hope. So, what I called last season, Teri's Doing It, is now being called Where to Find Bread. I'm still doing it, but now I'm sharing it. Look for the first podcast to splash down around February 1st. And Professor's going to come on. Just for those of you who may not know, I call Richard the professor, not because he was in academia as a serious professor who smoked a pipe, but he's a teacher. One of his gigs was at a community college, so he's the professor. But we'll be talking about and with him and others about sexual addiction, intimacy, anorexia, marriage, pornography, how available it is online, and what its impacts are on people, both young and old. We're going to talk about betrayal and trauma, coping mechanisms, attachment, neuroplasticity. That's how the brain can rewire itself to make different choices, recovery, loss, and grief, the resources that you need to heal, and more. We're going to talk to counselors and doctors. We're going to talk to young, middle-aged, and old betrayers and wounded partners. We're even going to talk about the prevalence of these things in the church. If I can find a pastor to come on and talk about it. I'm really excited about season 2 because the professor wrestled with his dragon, his addictions, and he got tools that have allowed us to begin again fresh. And because if he can, if we can, I know that you can. I know that your partner can do it. So back to the perky intro that you heard. You may think it's not entirely appropriate for the subject matter of season 2, but after this year that we've had, the professor and I are beyond ready for some happy. And I think some of you may be too. Heck, maybe it's not you, maybe it's your daughter, maybe it's your son, maybe it's your neighbor. Pass this on to them. I'm going to be working hard to get my technical and guest stuff in order so we can launch season 2 in February. I hope you'll join us for one or all of Where to Find Bread, the podcast, and we talk about all things sexual addiction related. In the meantime, sign up for my email newsletter so you don't miss an episode. You can find me on Substack at Where to Find Bread. I'm over here giving you a virtual high five because you just finished the sneak peek episode of season 2 of the Where to Find Bread with Teri Murrison podcast. If you want more, Bread has 3 blog posts about our 2025 that give a more in-detailed account of what a no-good, rotten, lousy, nasty year that we had. before it got better, that is, and it did get better. And next year, I think it's going to be even better. Thank you for watching. I would love to hear from you. Please DM me on Substack if you want referrals to resources, or if you just need to talk to someone who's been there. I can't wait to be friends, and I can't wait to hear from you. I'll see you, hope, in February. Thanks for listening.